The stars over Valoran Prime shimmered like 1,000 watchful eyes, each carrying the silent judgment of an empire. Rose Valoran, first daughter of the imperial house, stood on the balcony of the celestial hall, hands trembling despite years of imperial discipline. Tonight, she would be bonded to a human dot to her people. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, too passionate to be trusted. And yet the Empire had lost 3 border wars in a row. They needed Earth's help. They needed a symbolic union. They needed her. Rose's silver ceremonial dress clung to her like chains as she waited, every breath shallow. The image of him, James Hale, flickered in her mind. She had only seen his military dossier, and even that had unsettled her. A decorated human soldier, calm, controlled, unyielding. In battle, everything her people feared, everything. She had been taught to fear. The doors behind her opened. With a soft chime, he entered. James didn't walk like a conqueror or a man claiming a bride. He walked like someone entering hostile territory but choosing peace anyway. His posture was strong but unthreatening. His gaze direct but gentle. When he reached her, he bowed his head, not in submission, but in respect. "Princess Rose," he said softly, "I know this wasn't your choice, but I promise you this. I will never treat you as anything but a person with her own will." His words disarmed her more than any human weapon. The ceremony was a blur of glowing sigils and binding oaths spoken in 2 languages. She stood stiff, expecting at any moment the human to reach for dominance, to assert the power her people claimed all humans craved, but James simply stood at her side, steady as a mountain, speaking his vows with a sincerity that pulled at cracks she thought were long sealed. When it was over, when the galaxy had witnessed their union, Rose finally allowed herself to breathe until she saw him extend a hand. "Here it is." She thought, control, possession, but James only said, "May I escort you, Rose?" "Not princess. Not property. Just—" Her name? She hesitated, then placed her hand in his. His grip was warm, not forceful, not claiming, simply present, and something inside her shifted. Their new residence, the unified embassy tower, was quiet, save for the soft hum of anti-grav supports. Rose walked beside him, trying to maintain regal composure even as her heart warred with her mind. When the doors slid shut behind them, she braced herself. Would he demand obedience? Proximity? Affection? Humans were passionate, unpredictable, dangerous, but James simply said, "You don't owe me anything." Not conversation. Not closeness, not marriage even. "If you want space, I'll take the guest wing." Rose blinked. "You would sleep separately?" "Even though the Empire expects us to, expectations," James said, "are not the same as consent." Her breath caught. Humans were feared across the galaxy for their brutality in war. Yet here was a human showing her a gentleness her own people had never offered. Why? She whispered. James shrugged slightly. "Because power doesn't interest me. Respect does." Over the next days she watched him. She watched how he moved through their shared home with quiet awareness, never encroaching on her space. She watched how he brewed 2 cups of starflower tea every morning, one for himself, one left on her side of the table without a word. She watched how he removed his combat boots at the door so he wouldn't disturb the resonance patterns of her species' sensitive floors. No one, not guards, not servants, not suitors had ever cared so much for her comfort. One morning, she found him studying a Valorinic datapad, struggling with the swirling characters of her language. "You're learning our script?" she asked. James smiled sheepishly. "Trying. Most people say it's impossible for humans." "Most humans give up," she corrected. "Have you met many humans?" "No." "Then let me help with the sample size." Her laughter, small, soft, but real, escaped before she could stop it. One evening, the sky above the embassy flashed crimson war colors. An imperial dreadnought descended, and with it the Empress's decree. Rose was to return home. The marriage was no longer politically necessary. She was ordered to abandon the union. Rose's breath fractured. She expected James to be relieved, but his expression darkened, jaw tight, spine straightening with a soldier's instinct. They can't just take you? He said quietly, a strange warmth spread through her chest. You don't want me to go? James exhaled slowly. Rose, I don't want you trapped. But I also don't want you forced away. She searched his eyes clear, steady, impossibly sincere, as she realized something terrifyingly wonderful. She felt safe with him. She, the princess raised to mistrust. To fear, to guard herself, felt more free beside one human than she ever had within her own empire. For the first time, she took his hands. James, she whispered, I choose to stay. Something softened in him, a quiet, almost startled joy. He brushed his thumb gently over her knuckles, careful, deliberate, reverent. Then I'll stand with you, he murmured. Against anyone, even your empire. Her heart pounded. You would defy an empire for me? For someone who finally lets me be more than a weapon? He smiled softly. Every time. The Imperial Guards stormed the entrance minutes later. James stepped forward, not with hostility, but unyielding calm. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't bare his strength. He simply stood between Rose and the soldiers as if his presence alone could rewrite fate. And somehow it did that, because when the guards saw him protect her not as a soldier claiming a prize, but as a man defending someone he valued, they hesitated. Valorinic instincts were sensitive to intent. And James's intent radiated like a beacon. Respect, care, choice. The guards withdrew, not out of fear of a human soldier, but out of respect for a human husband. That night, Rose sat beside James on the couch overlooking the shimmering skyline. She rested her head lightly against his shoulder, a small gesture, yet monumental for her. James, she said softly, when I first met you, I feared you. I know. But now, she swallowed. Now I see why the galaxy trembles at humans. It isn't your strength, he raised a brow. No? It's your capacity to choose kindness when you could choose power? James didn't speak, he simply wrapped a supportive arm around her. Gentle as starlight, Rose closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid. She was cherished.